Hey there everybody, Pop on Top here. Welcome back to some more Fallout 4 mods. In today's mod, we got a texture mod here for landscape textures. This is RoNin 1971's UHD landscape enhancement. So what this mod attempts to do, obviously, is enhance the landscape. All the things. This applies to plants, roads, rocks, trees, grass, the base ground, whatever, that distinction is, the dirt cliffs, all the different things here. So one thing I wanted to show off while we started this video out here is how far away this stuff loads in, right? Because that's a big part, right? Like, as much as you can have fancy things, as you see here, some of the grass and stuff is now greener and stuff. It always has bothered me with any kind of landscape mod. Obviously you can see here there's some nice little leafy, bush stuff hanging off of things. That's already nice as it is, but like, how far away does it load? So obviously you can see over there's nothing, right? And that's just part of included with the mod. The LOD is included with the mod. Now I think it does load a little further in a way in the current settings we have on now, which is on the Xbox Series X. We are playing prioritized visuals mode. I don't personally play this way, but if we're trying to show off something visually, I figure it does apparently supposed to have higher load settings, right? Like, so we could get, further textures away, right? But you can see there's definitely stuff like way over there you can't see. There's like vague trees in the background, but those are all low resolution, just, base things, right? I'm trying to see if this changes too much. I could really already feel the drop in frame rate. So what I'm going to do, then we'll cut away, put performance mode back on, and we'll see how the textures load on that. And then we'll go take a look at the textures and see how different they look on a case-by-case basis. So I loaded up the game, performance mode now. You could see the huge difference in terms of the load on the textures, right? Like, it's right there. Like, it's right there. Like, you could see this is not very far. So this is just something to keep in mind. If you do play on performance mode, that's the way you like to prioritize your game. These textures are not going to load in nearly as far away. That's Bethesda made these decisions when they picked prioritize visuals, prioritize performance. Performance is not nearly as far away, right? Like, I could see that line. There's clearly a line where the textures are no longer being drawn. Now, that's fine. I mean, for me, like I said, my personal preference, I'd rather have performance rather than have my grass load in a little bit further away and then feel like murky garbage when I'm trying to shoot things, right? Like, that's my personal preference, but everybody's got different choices. I figured I'd show that off real quick, but now I'm going to show off the way that I personally play, right? So obviously we got ground textures here, right? Like, the cracks in this dry dirt here look quite nice. There's obviously some green grass. We talked about that already. There's some new shrubbery and stuff, like some slightly different things, but the mod also does list that they're trying to keep it as faithful to vanilla as possible, but, obviously adding some green is not very vanilla as it is, but like, you get some nice little bushes and stuff here. Some of this stuff is in there. Some of this thick grass and stuff in here is apparent. I've covered some grass mods before. Like, if you walked in these tall bushes, for some reason, this would just absolutely tank your frame rate. Right now, on performance mode anyway, I don't notice any significant decrease to frame rate. Look at those nice little purple flowers too. They're right there. Like, the textures do look nice. It's just not... I mean, we could look at rocks over here. We're going to look at a little bit of that. There is some new things added for sure. It's not just super duper vanilla, right? The rock textures are supposed to be better, and they are. I mean, I would say these rock textures are better. I've covered a textures mod recently. I've been, trying to do my best to pay attention to what vanilla looks like, because I forget sometimes because I do so many mods and so many different things. This does look quite nice. It's not, the craziest thing. It's describing itself as UHD landscape. It's not, 4K. There's some like 4K textures might bust the whole fucking shit wide open. You want to run the game where you can see the frames individually and count them shits, then you could do something like that. But for here, I think this is good. I think it looks good. I mean, I don't think any texture in Fallout 4, which is now an old game. Okay, like, we can call it old. It's an old man of a video game. But it holds up well enough, like, when looking out at it, right, for sure. But like, getting up close, I don't think anything's gonna hold it up to point blank scrutiny of like, oh, what's that little like, it's just not in this old game, not without a complete overhaul. And I just don't think this particular game engine handles that very well, right? It's just not really a thing. So yeah, like, even these little dirt mounds here, like they were talking about, that must be a dirt cliff. That's what they were referring to in the mod description. This is a dirt cliff. You can see a little, like, the roots and stuff in here a little bit better, right? Everything's a little bit sharper, more distinct, right? Various other things. I wanted to go over to my red rocket here. Obviously, like I said, I think the rocks from about this range even hold up quite well, right? Like, that looks nice. It looks like they're sharper, more detailed, right? Have a lot of different things going on with them. Obviously, the little bit of green adds something. For me, it adds less because it's very, like I said, when I'm playing a performance mode here, seeing that it's just brown in the distance because the textures don't, the greenness doesn't load in very far away, and then you can like literally see it load in as you kind of walk into it. is very distracting to me. I prefer like just nothing. Make it fucking literally flat in the desert, right? Like if it is what it takes, because it's just I get real. I mean, maybe it's the ADHD, but I get real distracted by the things, right? Like too much visual noise. That's what makes me good at like prioritizing finding a target, right? Seeing movement, right? And if things are the textures, the ground is moving, I get real distracted by that. You could even see it there, right? Like as we were kind of walking towards the red rocket there, you could see like nothing, and you could see it disappear and reappear, like right kind of where my dot there is for my crosshair. You can kind of see it appear right there as I'm kind of just approaching it. I don't know what the measured distance of that would be, maybe like 30 yards or so. I don't know, I said yards, and now I'm going to offend someone who's not American. Sorry, get with the currency of measurement, okay? Your fault, not mine. So we're going to get in here, and we're going to see on the red rocket here, we got like all these hanging vines and stuff here. There used to be hanging vines here, but these obviously have like new cool leaf textures. Those are added to the mod and stuff too, right? You can see like little rock textures here, right? I'm trying to see if there's anything. They said road specific, so obviously we have to check that out. I don't think this applies to corn. The corn still looks like regular corn. But there's like all these new bushes here. These bushes didn't exist before. And like obviously all these bushes used to be just brown things. They added leaves to those as well. Just a little bit of stuff here. Now road textures is one thing. Those definitely look, I would say, pretty nice, actually. Right? It's like, it's super duper flat still, but I mean, you know, given the circumstances, but it does look like it has texture to it, right? Like an old road. Like obviously this is obviously, you know, the whole deal. It's not supposed to be a road that's in good shape. It's sun bleached. It's, you know, got sand and dirt all up in it. It's got cracks and all that stuff. But I think texture, it looks not, it's actually smooth, okay? Like this is obviously not defined actual real divots in the ground here, but like it looks like it's rough. It looks like it has divots and holes, like it's been scraped away by weather over time. Obviously those radiation storms ain't free to the road, right? That's not the deal there. But like I'm trying to think about other things that we could look at here. I mean, plants obviously is a big one. We already went over most of that, right? The trees are all right. I think the trees is maybe one of the worst parts of the mod, is in terms of like, I think the roads here look pretty nice actually, right? I think some of that rock stuff looks pretty good. These dirt cliffs, as they're called, the roots and stuff look really nice and apparent. But the trees look just fine, I guess, right? Like they don't look that much better, or noticeably better, really, in any meaningful way to me at all. Besides, like I said, the greenness of them and the extra leaves on things definitely applies. Like because every tree was like a big naked tree, and now we have a little bit of leaves. The mod author does describe this effect as like, you know, where everything is just kind of barely hanging on. It's not like it's like over lush forest of beautiful, everything is going great. It's not going great. It's growing back. It's green. It's getting some, you know, some action going here, but it's not really doing super great. There's that next gen complete freeze. Thanks for that. But you can see the trees are kind of nice. They got some texture to them, but I wouldn't say that's much better than vanilla. Now, one thing we have to do is really look at rubble and kind of like broken down buildings and stuff. We're going to head downtown Boston, and then we'll also see, that's also where the performance is kind of just the worst as it is anyway, so we'll see if it dramatically feels worse than it already does, and I'll see you guys when we get there. Alright everybody, here we are downtown Boston. So this is like a different textural experience, right? Because we're not dealing with a lot of grass here. You're not going to have to deal with that short load distance, right? Like, but we are going to deal with different things like this piles of rubble and stuff here, right? Like these should be enhanced to be nicer, and I mean, it is definitely, I would feel like it is nicer, because like I said, I've been going out of my way to try to be like, this is what vanilla textures look like. It's a little bit nicer, right? I wouldn't say, like, and if it's trying to stick to vanilla aesthetics, it's not going to be like, oh, there's brand new pieces of rubble, there's brand new textures in there that actually, like, change the fundamental look of it. They should just look nicer, a little bit nicer. Now, this is a fairly large mod, though, for just a little bit nicer, to be fair, right? This is a 200 megabytes or so mod, so obviously on console, when you only get 2 gigs of space, that's 10% of your space, right? Math checks out. I can kind of math sometimes, you guys, okay? All right? But it is, like, I think there's definitely parts, and then the road textures here look really nice. I think that looks really nice. I think the sidewalk doesn't look that much different, but it does, I mean, I think it just looks better overall. I think I do think that it looks better. Now, is that worth the cost to you? That's its own, you know, value proposition and stuff here. And it's obviously one thing you gotta weigh. It's always hard to show off mods like this on YouTube, because YouTube's gonna compress the fuck out of the video, and it's like, you're like, I don't really know, it looks kind of worse to me. I mean, dog, the YouTube, but like, I'm trying to show you the idea. And then you got to try it for yourself. That's how things work, right? You should try things for yourself. Now, this is landscape, so this shouldn't enhance cars or anything like that. So most of this urban environment here, when we're in the downtown Boston area, shouldn't be enhanced. There's a lot of ground textures, right? So we're going to see the roads are nicer, the sidewalks a little bit nicer. Like, I think that brick right here, this brickwork you can see is like definitely very vanilla. I could be wrong. I could be corrected in the comments, but that looks very... And then you can almost make that comparison. Like this rubble here looks quite nice in comparison to this brick wall. But that also causes its own issue of like where like it's an all or nothing kind of deal for me to a certain degree, right? Where if some textures are better and some textures are worse, why? Like it's just like, it just gives me like a whiplash, textural whiplash. Get out of here, turret. Don't worry about that slow motion. We're going to cover that a little bit later. I don't know why that happened to a turret. That's not really what I would define as a thing. But we can see some grass in here, and that looks nice too. The green does add a little bit. I know a lot of you really like greenness in your Fallout 4. Like I said, I don't really care. I prefer it not to be there because I don't like seeing it load in. But there's definitely some green stuff here. Like Red Rocket's got that hanging vines. It seems like that's just their favorite thing to do to every Red Rocket gas station is it's got hanging leafy vines on there, which is fine. I think that adds some aesthetic to it if you guys have that personal preference. You know, that's your prerogative there. The fact that that's billboard even loads in. See performance mode, you guys. If you guys don't know performance, it's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy that it's like that still. And it still doesn't run very well. That's crazy. Anyway, that's Bethesda's fault, not the mod's fault. There's some trees over here. Those got leaves on them and stuff now too. The bushes in generally are more viney and stuff too. I wanted to go to this big section of rubble over here because it's like collapsed building, like these brick textures here, right? Is what I would think of when I think of like big sunk sections of rubble. It is a little bit framey, but it always is. I don't think it necessarily feels worse. But I don't necessarily think these brick textures are that much improved either. Like definitely that's not like look at that texture, okay? Like this YouTube will put this through, right? Like this is not good. That's a vanilla thing. Maybe the bricks are a little bit enhanced because it looks like different and better than this like broken down metal that's like is super duper flat. Like I was talking about the roads, right? The roads have at least the appearance of having texture to them, right? Like they're, you know, kind of like bumpy and grainy and like look like they have an appearance of being three-dimensional, right? But some of this stuff, like the broken down metal rubble, does not. Like this looks nice. This looks better, right? Like these little piles of trash, and you know, garbage and shit look better. And a little bit of grass looks nice, but like, ooh, frames. That's normal. It doesn't feel actually any worse though. It's not like my average frame rate is dramatically lower. It's just bad because it's bad. I'm not messing with that thing right now. We're gonna get to that in a different mod video. That's like a spoiler. It's like a preview thing. Let's see. Do I think these bricks are better? They might be a little bit better actually. Looking at this now, because like comparing these brick textures to like I said, like the falling down metal buildings. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty solid texture mod. Now it does take up some space, but it does make your game nicer. And I know some people prioritize it over anything. That's like they want to keep their game as vanilla as possible. They don't add new guns. They don't add new gameplay systems even, right? They just want to make what's there look nicer. And if you really want to stick to a vanilla aesthetic, I think this mod is pretty good. It does add some green, like that tree definitely has some leaves on it, but not too much. It's still like a very, you know, wasteland apocalyptic type feel to it, but just with a little bit of green in there. And you know, obviously if you play on a last-gen console or you know, you play on visuals mode, your experience is different than what I'm showing off here. But I think overall it's fairly solid. There's nothing major problems with it. It's just not my particular preference. I don't sit there normally looking at ground textures. That's why I said like I have to go out of my way to do so to make sure I actually even understand what ground textures look like, because this is not a big thing that I worry about when I'm actively playing the video game. But if you do, this one might be the mod for you. I really like the road texture though. This one, that might be my favorite of all the textures there. You guys let me know what you think down below. What texture do you like the most? If you do want to check out this mod for yourselves, make sure to check out the top link in the description. There'll be a link there to the Bethesda.net page or the Nexus mod page. You can download this mod for yourselves there. If you guys have enjoyed the video, like the video. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. That way you can check out more videos from me. And pretty much other than that, you guys have a good rest of your day, whatever it may be, and I will see you in the next episode.